Alrighty. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Every Which Way podcast. How are you guys doing? Did you have a good week? How was your weekend? I'm doing pretty well overall. Thankfully, didn't have to work this weekend, which is great. Love that. And yeah, everything's been going well for me. I really can't complain. I'm recording this on Saturday. Last night was a full moon, and I did myself a nice little ritual, and that was really nice. So, just releasing some things that no longer serve me, and besides, I wanted to do something for the full moon. I have a woman's circle this coming weekend on Sunday, so tomorrow, and I'm really looking forward to seeing my girls, and yeah, so not much to really say. But please tell me how you guys are doing. I would love to know. Um, so yeah, we're just gonna get right into it, I suppose. Actually, no, we're not. We're not, because I do have something that I want to share. So on my Patreon, I pinned a post, a little blog, uh, kind of spouting some ideas, some things that I've been thinking about doing, and I had made it public so that you don't have to pay or anything to see it. But it was talking about possibly doing more audio, like another podcast, pretty much. And I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. Um, I think it's going to be, no, it is going to be a review series, and it's going to go over witchy TV shows, movies, stuff like that. Um, Not so much the learning like this podcast is, but definitely for entertainment and just to have some fun and talk about stuff that I have watched, read, what have you. And yeah, so I think I'm going to start that up. I don't know when, but it is coming, and it'll be exclusive to the Patreon for paid members only. So if you are interested, then you can go to the Patreon, patreon.com/every which way podcast. And I have 4 tiers total. So I have the baby witch tier, which is only $1. I have the maiden, which is $3, the mother, which is $6, and the crone, which I think is $9 or $10, something like that. I don't remember. But yeah, if you're interested in listening to me talk about witch media, like movies and books, there you go. You get a whole nother podcast for a little bit of Munties. And hey, I know times are hard, so if you can't afford any of that, that's a-okay too. So it means a lot that you listen to this podcast. And I don't want to seem like it's not enough, because it is more than enough. This is just a extra thing that I want to do for the people who have signed up for the Patreon, who want to support. Just a little added bonus content. Not to say that those reviews may never appear on this podcast, because they might, but I'm still working on the ideas and how I want things to go. So look for that in the future. So today, before I really get into what I'm talking about, I went to a local ice cream shop called Ripley's Creamery, and it's right down the road. For those who live in the Gettysburg, McSherrystown, Hanover, Pennsylvania area, it is a little ice cream shop in McSherrystown. And I got myself one of their freak shakes, which is a Halloween themed milkshake, and I got the Dracula, and it is pretty good. I highly recommend it, definitely. The Dracula itself is strawberry ice cream with strawberry drizzle, cheesecake, whipped cream, and it came with little plastic vampire fangs. And when I say cheesecake, I mean on top of the shake. So I have the cup right here for those who are able to watch, which you can watch the actual video recording on the Patreon if you so desire. But they actually put a slice of cheesecake on top of the cup itself. So it's a work of art for ice cream, and it was really good too. So I highly recommend it if you happen to live in the area. Try it, and if not, and you're planning to visit Pennsylvania for whatever reason, maybe remember go and take a look because I recommend it. It's really good. Anyway, on to the topic. So I am talking to you today about jinxes, hexes, and curses. So, kind of baneful magic, we'll get into it. And we're going to right now. So, Merriam-Webster defines a jinx as, quote, one that brings bad luck and the state or spell of bad luck brought on by a jinx. As a verb, jinxing means to foredoom to failure and misfortune and to bring bad luck to. And can I just say that I love the word foredoom? I've heard of foreboding, but never foredoom, and I just really like that. It tastes so good to say, which I know is weird. For those of you who may be like me and are confused on past terms and plural terms, the past term of a jinx is indeed jinxed, and the plural is jinxes. I get caught up on some weird things. So for things like jinxes, hexes, and curses, I'm like, what is the plural? How do I say it in the past tense? What is going on? And that's just the English nerd in me. And by English, I mean English was one of my best subjects in high school. So the language arts student in me just needs that clarification. So a jinx. A jinx is probably the least harmful of the three types of baneful magic, and they're really more of an inconvenience than anything truly malevolent or evil. A jinx causes mild life disruption that can oftentimes be repetitive, though not always, and activates under certain circumstances. So, for example, say you are in a hurry to get to work or somewhere, and you end up hitting every single red light on your way to your destination. That is a jinx. And due to how mild a jinx can be, they're kind of hard to detect because, sometimes that's going back to the red traffic light analogy. Sometimes it's just the way things set up. Like maybe you were running behind and other vehicles trip the sensors. But it could very well be that someone put a little jinx on you because they wanted to teach you a lesson. That could very well be it. So, believe it or not, but pretty much everyone at some point in their life has cast a jinx. One of the more popular ones, especially among the adolescents, is that, Jinx, you owe me a soda. I know that when I was a kid, I've certainly said that many a time. This is typically said when people say the same thing at the same time. And traditionally, relating to this particular example, the person jinxed is not supposed to or cannot talk until the soda has been paid. So, to summarize, a jinx is a small spell of annoyance or inconvenience that is relatively harmless. So, it doesn't cause any bodily harm or anything like that. It's just a little annoyance meant to, well, annoy you. Moving on to hex, which is defined by the Cambridge Dictionary as an evil spell or to bring bad luck or trouble. The past tense is hexed, the plural is hexes, and the verb is hexing. if we look at these three forms of baneful magic, a jinx would be a level 1. So the lowest, the weakest, not very impactful. A hex, on the other hand, would be a level 2. A hex has more power to it than a jinx and is pretty much a one and done type of spell. I'm not saying that it's exclusively one and done, but traditionally they are. Hexes are fast working spells that are designed to teach the target a lesson. They seek to harm one's luck, happiness, job, relationships, stuff like that, what have you. So, an example of this would be a spell that one does to prevent a mean spirited or even abusive coworker from getting a desired position at work. Also, a return to sender spell would technically qualify as a hex, as it is bouncing that magic off, intending to bring about whatever nature the hex was to do to the person who originally cast it. Like a jinx, a hex can be hard to detect, but one can do so through divination, whatever kind of divination you so desire, or by simply being told by the person who cast the spell, which I guess is can technically also apply to jinx. But how often is someone going to flat out tell a person that they hex them? I don't know. Maybe it happens more often than not. I'm not sure. But that's what I have on hex. So the next one we have is the curse, which has many definitions. It could mean a prayer, invocation, or utterance of harm or injury to come upon someone, also called an imprecation, to bring great evil up, to call upon divine or supernatural power to send injury upon, evil or misfortune that comes as if in response to imprecation or as retribution. As the third level of this power analogy, curses are far more powerful than a hex or a jinx, and they are meant to last a long time, sometimes a lifetime, maybe a couple years, but they can also span multiple generations. Curses are often used to seek revenge on a perpetrator or to bring about justice when other sources have failed to do so. A curse impacts all aspects of the target's life in order to make it crumble and fall apart. Historically, curses were and are still heavily implemented by marginalized groups, particularly in impoverished and BIPOC communities. I'm not saying that it is only in these communities that these are done. This is just historically what I have found. But I think that these are, again, with a jinx, something most people have done at least once in their life. So this is not mutually exclusive to those communities. I just want to make that clear. A curse can take on many forms, from ruining one's relationships due to the destruction of property, to causing all of the crops to die off. The point is basically to make the target's life a living hell. Of these three types of baneful magic, curses tend to be the most difficult to break. Generally, intense spells such as curses are used for abusers, pedophiles, rapists, animal abusers, and murderers. That's just generally, but every individual witch is their own person, and they do what they do with that. So this is a generalization. So, how exactly can you tell if you've been jinxed or hexed or cursed exactly? Well, here are some indicators that I've found and that I've even thought of off the cuff of my little lizard brain head to help you out with that. So, one, if the person who casts the spell just flat out tells you. I don't know how often this happens. No one has ever come up to me and be like, Dana, I put a curse on you. At least not to my knowledge. Which, if they told me, I think I would remember, but I don't remember. If you are hit with a streak of continuous misfortune or bad luck. Now, this is like out of nowhere. If you're just naturally unlucky and you've gone your whole life kind of like Eugene from Hey Arnold, and you just run into situation after situation which is horrible and getting yourself hurt and into trouble, maybe that's not an indication. But this is generally like if your luck is pretty consistent or good, or if you don't really often have bad luck and then suddenly you just have bad luck after bad luck after bad luck for a extended period of time. Sudden, unexplainable anxiousness, restlessness, or even depression can come over you out of nowhere and lingers for an extended period of time. Now, I'm not saying that people who are depressed or have anxiety disorders are cursed or hexed or jinxed. This is if it suddenly hits you out of nowhere, like if you're usually a person that's pretty calm and chill, and then suddenly you're just really anxious for no reason, seemingly at all, and there's nothing in your life indicating that you would have this, then that could be an indication that someone has put a hex or a curse upon you. Coming down with an illness out of the blue or being suddenly injured. I think that speaks for itself. Performing your preferred divination method. So if you implement tarot cards, and right now I have the Cozy Witch Tarot deck in front of me, if you have a suspicion that maybe something nefarious is going on and you've been hit with a spell like this, consulting your pendulum or your tarot deck could be a way to help give you guidance or clarification on your suspicions. Experiencing constant nightmares and having few to no good dreams at all. Receiving ominous letters, texts, emails, calls, or other forms of communication from an anonymous party or out of the blue. Struggling with money or experiencing financial difficulties when you're normally good with handling money. Hearing or seeing things throughout the day more so than usual. So maybe you're a person that doesn't really see or hear random things, but then suddenly you start to, out of the corner of your eye, like see a shadow person or something like that. That could be an indication that something's not diggity, you know? Personal or professional relationships begin to struggle out of nowhere. Houseplants or pets getting sick or even dying could also be an indication. Sudden, unusual tardiness or excessive obstacles hindering your way, or being in the wrong place at the wrong time when normally you have good punctuation and don't get into much trouble. Your protective wards, charms, sigils, or talismans are breaking. And the last one I have is cursing yourself. Like attracts life. Like attracts like. If the only thing you put out into the universe is negative energy, that's all that you're going to attract. It's a give and take situation, you know? So, what are some ways that you could rid yourself of a jinx or a hex or a curse? Well, one, and this one is my favorite method, usually of doing any sort of ritual, is taking a ritual bath, incorporating salt to cleanse yourself, which is especially effective for jinxes and other herbs, crystals, or tools that you associate with cleansing energy and protection. Cleansing yourself, your home, or your belongings, both physically and metaphysically. So maybe ringing a bell throughout the entire house or smoke cleansing, however it is you cleanse, give that a go. Wear or keep protective charms, stones, talismans, things like that on your person. Be sure to have them charged via sun or moonlight, or by your deities or the earth or the universe, however you charge your tools. Cast protection spells around yourself, your loved ones, anything that you think is being affected by whatever baneful magic that has come upon you. Let's see here. I lost my place. I'm sorry. Reverse the hex or curse, though this may be complicated for a beginner, for a new practitioner. So this could require some research, but it is possible to reverse them. Again, this is not something for someone who is really green. This is for more experienced practitioners, but not saying that you can't learn how to do it. And of course, you can also reach out to those who have more experience. Use positive energy to negate the negative energy that typically accompanies these kinds of spells. You could do a return to sender spell via a mirror. And the last one I have is crafting a decoy poppet or effigy to take the brunt of the curse. So there you go. And that's really all I have in my notes. And the reason why is because I also wanted to talk about the morality implications of using such magic. And I brought up the Reddit post in the witchcraft subreddit. And the post itself was from 2 years ago, and it's titled Morality of Curses, Jinxes, Hexes. And it's pretty much asking what are people's morals and beliefs on these things. So the first person one of the first people who commented on it is someone named Michael Connell. And they say, I'm a Wiccan who believes in the Reed and the Rule of Three. And I still believe that baneful work has its place. The Reed is just that, wise advice or counsel. It's not an iron law or commandment. It's advice to consider and apply where possible. In certain specific situations, I believe that actions which might cause harm are actually necessary, and that by choosing, because it is a choice, to not do that action out of a desire to refrain from harming, one may actually be complicit in harming. As for the Rule of Three, I personally understand it to mean that whatever we send out, our actions, we experience the consequence of in body, mind, and soul. Basically, I see it as just a reiteration of the concepts of karma and interdependence. Understanding karma in a sense closer to its origins in dharmic religions and not the popular conception of karma as a system of rewards and punishments. All that said, I take baneful magic very seriously. Posting about how to perform such magic is not something I will participate in. I feel it's actually irresponsible to do so, because you never know who might stumble across your comments and try something that could potentially harm themselves or another person. You also don't know if someone will find your comments and choose to do the baneful work you describe without any justification on someone who is perfectly innocent. Another commenter by the name of Aquamarine Wishes said, Never. I focus only on my own self and my intentions. I don't believe my desires or emotions should come before others' free will. And I don't believe that our simplistic human wills have the power to actually harm anyone else. Magic for the good of all only. Edit. I do believe strongly that we all sow our own karmic energy. If one deserves bad, it will find them regardless of how we react to them. The next one that I have is from Rindle. I personally feel that turning negativity back on a sender is the best way to go. Meaning that the more you send they send at you or try to do to you, the worse it gets for them, especially if you tie triplication into that, so that their negativity is multiplied by 3 when it returns to them. When it comes to magic, I feel that the rules you live by are the rules that bind you, which is well said. The next one I have is from Zelina73. I am a solitary eclectic Wiccan, and my own personal belief is that there is indeed a time and place for baneful magic, such as curses. However, my belief is that this should only be done in the most direst of circumstances, as if someone is in constant and extreme danger of being harmed, cases where law enforcement and the legal system has severely failed a serious crime victim, and other such circumstances. I do believe that the energies we send out return to us, but in these types of situations, if the curse is being done with pure intentions of a desire to help someone, then there would not be any negative energy return. I do not believe in cursing for revenge, pettiness, or spite. For example, my boyfriend cheated on me, I need to curse to punish him. I need a curse to punish him. Again, these are my own personal religious and spiritual beliefs based on my specific path. And the next one I have comes from the overseer, who has a couple of steps. So, 1, follow the mundane. If I can solve my problems through mundane means, even if it's more stressful or hard, so long as it isn't risking a harm to myself, then I do not hex or curse. 2, cord cutting. I would rather separate myself from them. A cord cutting does not cause harm to them. I am quick to let go of a person when the value in keeping them around is less than the pain of or suffering that they will cause to me. Like, I wouldn't keep a toxic person just because I still love them. 3, always start small if possible, if there are small things I can do magically without having a hex or curse. And 4, prefer a special type of hex. It will do what it needs, but in a specific way. By the end, the person will be a better person, even if it means revealing their secrets and ruining their life. It is a better option than straight torture, which a curse can be. I hate doing curses that don't lead to improvement in the person I've targeted. I am not love and light, but I'm also not a sadistic piece of crud. I make sure they get what they deserve, but they still get some aftercare. I wouldn't leave anyone to simply suffer and struggle to get back on their feet. I've been there. Instead, I'll always make sure there's something to come help them once they've gotten the punishment and improvement. It's still a last resort to hit number 4, though, but at least someone else won't become their new target after me. And that's all I'm going to read for the Reddit, because there is a long list, and I will link it in the show notes for this particular episode, but definitely if you're unsure, go and read it. My own personal feelings on this is that, for me personally as a witch, I do not consider myself Wiccan. I used to. I do not anymore, because I was never officially inducted in the first place, so I don't think I could have officially been Wiccan. But I didn't want to be confined and to feel like I had to do certain things. And just being a witch and going out on my own with the deities, who I want to work with, stuff like that was just easier. But my whole thing is that life, energy, magic, the universe is about balance first and foremost. Everything, in my opinion, every animal and every person has neutral energy in them, and that what they do with that can become positive or negative. I don't think that any one person is all truly evil and no one person is all truly good, because we all have it in us to be petty, selfish dicks. Let's just be honest, we do. But I think that it's part of who we are. It's part of what connects us to nature and the universe, because it's a balance. With dark, there must be light, and vice versa. To quote a book series that I have loved since my teenage years, which is the House of Night series, darkness does not always equate to evil, just as light does not always bring good. I think that a lot of people, especially those who maybe don't have any experience with witchcraft or paganism, see the term darkness or dark or black or baneful and automatically associate it with negative connotations. Only negative connotations. And I'm not saying that there isn't some negativity to it, but it's not all negative. For example, Hecate is considered a dark goddess, but she's not evil. I don't think anyone who knows about Hecate or witchcraft would ever consider her evil. But on the flip side, say, for example, a light god such as Apollo, just for example, those who know of Apollo's mythology would know that he is not inherently all good. And that's aside from the fact that the ancient Greeks saw their deities as more human than divinely disassociated. And I think that's important because I think deities are more human in that they make mistakes. They are prone to act on their emotions just like we are. But I think it's easier for people to just see light and automatically think good, and see dark and automatically think bad. And that's not how it is. It really isn't. It's more of a gray. Everything is gray, in my opinion. It's a mix up of both. And I think that nature and life needs both. I think that it is important for one to be in balance with themselves and the world around them, that they have to have that light and that darkness within them. And I don't think it's necessarily bad to act on that dark or that light. The only thing I have an issue with personally is when someone just does things with just the intention to hurt, just for shits and giggles, and not have the person who maybe wronged them learn something from their grievances, from their mistakes, and help them be a better person. I think that when one does a jinx, a hex, or a spell, a curse, sorry, spell, that the intention should be, you wronged me and that hurt, but I want you to be a better person, if not for myself or for yourself, for the next person who comes after me. And that's not necessarily bad, and it's not. And I know that when one sees, again, terms like baneful, black, dark, it can be intimidating. It can be scary, especially for people who are new to their path, who are branching out and experimenting with their spirituality and trying to find themselves. I asked my coven about this. Shout out, by the way, to Lacey, Susan, Carrie, Shannon, and Jen. Hey, girls. Hey. And some of them, most of them, who are still relatively new and green, no offense, you are, were hesitant or did not know, lacked knowledge of what baneful magic is. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with not knowing, with being unsure, and with not wanting to associate with yourself with that type of magic, especially if you are new. I think it's totally understandable to not want to have anything to do with that when you're first starting out on any new path. But I think it's a disservice to yourself and to the world and to nature and the universe, which we are a part of, to discount it off entirely, to automatically associate it with evil. Because I don't think, and this is just my opinion, I don't think anything is all light or all dark. It's a mix up. And I feel like it has to be, and it should be, in order to maintain a good, proper balance. And when that balance is tipped, that's when you get bad things to happen. Because a lot of bad things have happened from people who had the best intentions in their minds set up. And even some good things have happened from people who have committed the most heinous atrocities that we've ever seen in mankind. So ultimately, I think that it is perfectly okay to cast a jinx, cast a hex, or cast a curse, or do any type of baneful working. I think it is okay, so long as you don't do it while you are in a fit of emotional upheaval. I think that once you have had time to sit down and calm the emotions, calm the mind, and think about it, then it's okay. And you feel like it's necessary, then it's okay. Now, for more serious matters, such as rape and murder, definitely pursue the more mundane aspects first. And I think that logically that should go without saying, but just to cover my bases, make sure that you're doing your due diligence and not going to magic first to solve your problems. Try to do it mundanely, which I know sometimes can be boring, but hey, listen, sometimes the mundanity and the normal stuff works just as fine, sometimes if not better. But I think that if those avenues have been exhausted and things are not getting better, justice is not being prevailed, people are not learning, then it's okay to put your hand into the mud and get a little dirty. But again, make sure that your intention is coming from a good place and that it's not just to fuck Jeremy up because he pulled out in front of you in the work parking lot. And yeah, that's all I got. So that is all I have on the subject of jinxes, hexes, and curses. I hope that that helped whoever listens to this. I hope that that brought some clarification for those who maybe were unsure. And I hope that it brought you also a sense of comfort in a weird way, that it is okay to talk about these things. It is okay to immediately say no and put up those walls. But it's also okay to do the thing too. So yeah, that's what I got. Before we go, let's do a card reading. Again, I have the Cozy Witch Tarot deck by Amanda Lovelace. I love this deck. It is not just beautiful art, but it really has that sense of coziness it's has the sense of it feels like fall to me, which I know is kind of weird, but if you had this deck, I think that you would understand. But it feels like the coziness of fall, but all year round. So let's do a little shuffle quick here. Alrighty. And now we draw. Oh. 5 of Cups. 5 of Cups. Spilled tea isn't the end of the world. So in the depiction on the card, we have a beautiful lady who is on her knees mourning the spilt 3 cups of tea before her. But to her left, there are still 2 full teacups. With the 5 of Cups, it's easy for us when something unfortunate happens to just look at it as something bad or negative. I think that there is always a silver lining, even to the worst possible experiences and situations. Am I saying that you should immediately see those things and not feel your feelings? Absolutely not, baby. It's okay to cry. It is okay to be angry. It is okay to express yourself. It is okay for you to throw yourself on the ground, wailing and bawling and snot crying all over yourself. But don't stay there. Don't stay there, because once it's not healthy for you to stay there. Get it out of your system, express yourself as you need to, but it is not the end of the world, especially if something is that happened is minute. There's always something to be learned in whatever situation or experience or obstacle that you face. And maybe in the moment, definitely in the moment, you don't see that. But once you reflect, then you will. But spilled tea isn't the end of the world. Remember that. And remember that I am thankful for you for tuning in to this podcast, the Every Which Way podcast by me, Dana. I know that in the description and even on here, I say we a lot, but it really is me, like, recording, doing the little bit of editing that I do, getting stuff up there. I do, well, when I say we, I do mostly mean me, but I also do ask people that I know personally and like my coven for their input on certain subjects and stuff like that, like today's, for example. So in a way, it is a group effort, and that's beautiful. And you're beautiful, listener. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care if I've never met you. You're beautiful, and I hope that you have a beautiful, magical Monday. And I'll see you, wonderful witches, in the next episode. Bye. Oh, before I actually end, for real and for true, real quick, the next episode, which will be coming out on the 28th, it's going to be a spooky episode. It's going to be a Sabbath Spooks. What I'm going to title it is the Samhain Spooky Special 2024. And I think you guys are going to enjoy it. So look forward to that. Just in time, by the way, for Halloween and Samhain. So the next one after this one is going to be the spooky one. So I hope you're ready to get spooked, because I know I'm ready to spook you. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, my friends. Take care of yourselves. Drink some water. Testing out the microphone, doing a little test. Wanna make sure it's working before I record the rest.